Hello, and welcome to episode 160 of Prog Review. We're all awash in a sea of blood, and at least we can do is wave to each other. And that's a quote from artist John Minton, oh yes indeed, and it gives its title to this album by Graaf Generator. At least we can do is wave to each other. If you haven't read the title, some of you out there, a bit daft. It was released in February 1970. All those years ago, 42 years old, and there's the post. So I'm just gonna pause this, and I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'll keep that in, shall I? Something from Amazon. I wonder what it is. I don't know, because I haven't ordered anything. Maybe it's a surprise. So anyway, where were we? Released February 1970, 42 years ago. Excuse my son. The album was recorded between the 11th and 14th of December 1969. Oh yes, indeedy. And this is the first proper VDG. It's going to be one of those days, VDG albums. And I know some of you are going to snark and say, no, this is the first VDG. This one, not that one, this one. No, this is Hamill's solo album, and it was recredited at the behest of Tony Stratton-Smith with Mercury Records so that he could release him from his contract with them. Indeed, so we're going to say this is the first VDGG album, okay? And we will never mention it again. You've been told. Of course, the band, it took its name from an electrostatic generator, although they completely spelt it wrong. And it actually, it's featured on the cover. You see that? That's clever, isn't it? It's the one that when you touch it, you might have used it in your classroom when you was a kid, you touch it and your hair stands on end. What do you mean? It could still work. It could still work, I can't help being so super virile that all my hair fell out. Mrs. doesn't complain. But yeah, the album, it sees the band as a five-piece. You have Hamill, Banton, Jackson, Evans and Nick Potter on bass duties. Unfortunately, Nick Potter died last month, January 2013. So we're going to dedicate this prog review to him. So this one's for you, Nick. So the album begins with Darkness, open parentheses, 11/11, close parentheses. And it comes out of a murk of sound effects, storms, wind, you know the thing. And we have the blueprint for almost every VDGG song that is to come. And those of you thinking that Aerosol Grey Machine is VDG, can all go and shut up. This is a completely different beast entirely, and you can hear it. And like in The Call of the Crimson King, this album signals the end of the 60s and flower power and the hippie movement. This is very much a move into the bleak reverence of the 1970s. And listening to the opening song, you immediately wonder, where has this music come from? What is this? Again, this is gothic horror prog. I've mentioned this before, I think in the Porn Hearts review. But this isn't the kind of album that you'd slip on your record deck to relax to. Oh no, by Jiminy. This is difficult music, and it's probably more difficult than actually King Crimson at the height of their most effusive prog powers. It's a song about, God knows what. Hamill is being verbose and difficult, and he's waxing lyrical on the nature of humanity, good and evil, numerology. And the song was written on the 11th of November, and that's where the 11 suffix comes from. Yes, the month of the Scorpion. Now, this was the first VDGG album I ever bought. I remember quite clearly buying it at the second-hand record shop in Wood Street in Walthamstow and putting it on my deck. And it took me a good few years to actually get into it. Pawn Hearts, despite being more dark and gothic, actually had more tunes, more bits that were memorable, and seemed actually bizarrely more accessible to me. With this album, I've always found it a bit troublesome. In Refugees, Hamill writes a ballad about his oldest friends emigrating away. I think we're going to America or South Africa or something, I don't know. And leaving him on his Todd, on his lonesome. Of course, it's a ballad after VDGG have put it through their musical mincer, isn't it? Oh, yeah. And they've smashed it all up. Here you go. Here's your ballad. It's all beaten up now. Do you still want it? It's a pleasant enough song, and it deals with loss, loss of friendship. It's nice enough. It's standard stuff for Hamill. Then the band gets to rock out with White Hammer, and this again, it's almost Hammer horror this time, and it's a story of Malleus Maleficarum. Oh yes, indeed. Which, when it's translated, means Hammer of the Witches in Latin. It was actually a treatise written in 1486 about the prosecution of witches by Heinrich Kramer. Oh yes, and he was a German Catholic priest. There's always a joke about the Pope in there somewhere. Maybe we'll stay away from that today. The writings were created to dispel any notions about witchcraft actually existed at the time, and goes into detail how to spot witches and what to do with them, when you come to prosecute them. Well, Hamill takes this on board and turns it into a song about the persecution of the black and white arts. Well, naturally, obviously, of course he does. Complete with jazzy organ and swinging sax. See what I did there? It's good fun, especially the freak out ending. Oh boy do they freak out. And this is followed by what would Robert have said? And the Robert in question is Robert Jemison van de Graaf. Oh yeah, Van de Graaf, not Van der Graaf, Van de Graaf. And he's the guy that invented that thing, with the hair. Oh yeah. This song feels like it's almost like a cousin to Candle from Hamill's solo album. You know the one with the chessboard on the cover. I'm having a brain fart at the moment. I'm sure you'll all correct me. And there's some great imagery in there. We actually get an electric guitar solo throughout the song, which gives the band like a little bit of a different sonic texture to play with. And it's a real stonker, and I think it's probably my favourite from the album. The penultimate song is Out of My Book, which sees the band slipping down quite a few gears and taking a gentler approach, and features couplings such as Sunlight Meadows and Fluttering Eyelashes. Oh my god, for me, this one sits awkwardly on the album. It does actually sound like a throwback to the 60s, and it's really the only misstep on the record. And then it's rounded off with After the Flood, which deals with the ice caps melting. Oh, here we go again. And a cataclysmic global event. Oh, indeed. Global warming. Climate change. It's always changed. You could skate on the Thames once. It's good. I like it because you feel the band stretching out. It's the longest track on the album. And you can always see the future unfolding for the band, and it acts as a portent for songs such as Emperor in the War Room and The Plague of Lighthouse Keepers. You can hear them, kind of getting ready to make the jump, the quantum leap, as it were. This CD reissue here gives you 2 extra tracks. There's good little piece in there as well. Good essay and intro by Hamill. But yeah, it gives you 2 tracks in the form of A and B sides from the single. You get Boat of a Million Years, which I quite like as a song. It's quite effective, and I think may have even replaced Out of My Book on the album, I think. And there's also the single edit of Refugees. Now, this is a strong debut for the group, but my issue to this, and to every Van de Graaf generator album, is that they always tend to seem to run at one speed, and you get one flavour. This is an album of doom and gloom, and there's never a chink of light. There's never any hope to get you through. But that's the whole point. That's what they do. But sometimes I find it a bit tough. I like albums that are up and down, light and dark. A bit of balance. Whereas VDGG is basically hammering home. That's what they do. Whammo! It is a tough album to get into, and if you're unfamiliar with VDGG, you might find it a bit of a hard slog in places. And also, this is a band finding its feet, and the production the production is, I mean, I don't like moan about things like production, but it does feel like a bit of a throwback to the 60s, with instruments being hard panned and vocals being panned left and right, and you don't get a kind of a wide uniform sound that you get later on with the band. So yeah, for me, the mix and the production could be improved. It could have been better. It is a bit jarring. It's old-fashioned production, a bit like the Beatles when they used to pan stuff around. It's quaint now, but I don't know. But anyway, I better hurry up because the time is of the essence. Oh no, I've got a couple of minutes left. I can wax lyrical. No. I'm just going to bang it on. In terms of rating, I'm giving this a 4. Yes, 4 white hammers out of 5. Yes, 4 white hammers out of 5, because despite it being a strong start, Out of My Book doesn't really cut it for me. The production sometimes gets in the way, and I do tend to prefer their subsequent albums. So there you go. If you've enjoyed this, don't forget to check out the other videos in the sequence. I'm going to have to set up another list now, because I've done 200 on a favourites list, and you can only have, that's it, so I've got to do another one. But anyway, you can find a bit.ly prog review. There you go. Can you see that? So there you go. That's something for you to check out, and we'll do this all again. My name's been Darren Locke. I've been blabbering on about At Least We Can Do Is Wave to Each Other by Van Graaf Generating. This was suggested by someone who's a Twitter follower, so don't forget to follow on the tweets, because I do ask for requests sometimes, and they were successful, so you are. Thank you. And that's it really. Only one more thing to say. Are you ready? Ran out of bleeding time, didn't I? Only one more thing to say. Prog on. I see I could have fitted that in if I'd have just spoken faster. If I hadn't mentioned, I could have just squeezed it all in. Very annoying. Toddle off.